Hey everybody, welcome back to another Clone Wars figure review. Today we're taking a look at the Battle Droid. This figure was released in the very first wave and it saw numerous re-releases throughout the line. It was updated in 2013 with that final, very hard to get wave, and the only difference was they added a swivel below the elbow. But as far as I know, he still can't hold his blaster with two hands. So yeah, we're just going to get straight into the accessories and then talk about this guy. I've tried to lay these things out nicely, but there's not really much point. The first thing we get is just the standard Droid blaster. It's slightly rubbery, but not very. It looks just like it does in the show, and it's got a really nice silver dry brush. So this is a really, really nice accessory. Then we get this rocket launcher. All of these earlier Clone Wars figures came with some sort of action feature. It looks okay. It sort of looks like a really inflated version of the standard Droid gun. You can pop a missile in there, and yeah, that really shot out. So I'll show you him holding them. The blaster just goes right in the hand. It wobbles a little bit, but the fingers are quite tight on it, so it's not going anywhere, so to speak. And then despite the lack of a bicep swivel, the shoulders have a fair bit of range, so he can hold this thing with two hands. I'm just not going through the trouble of getting these fingers in through the trigger, but like, I suppose you can make that look okay, but it's not something I would display this figure with. So getting right in and taking a look at the sculpt, I mean, I think they nailed it. Like, I think they absolutely nailed it. Some of the sculpts were a little hit or miss in those first waves, but these guys, they just got spot on. So this whole figure is covered in a bit of a wash. The initial releases, like the clones, all had a wash. They were later reissued without that wash. That was one of the first things that Hasbro cut when the economic recession happened in 2008. But you can see the wash does really bring the figure to life. He's also got a backpack. I don't really count that as an accessory. It is removable. The antenna is just a rubbery piece. And then taking a look at the rest of the figure, like, it looks appropriate. It's simplistic, but it looks just like the show, and you can see the boots there. Now, this guy does have mud stains. This is from the Battle of Christosis battle pack. They usually didn't have these. It was just the wash. And you can see his legs are a little bit wobbly, and that's because they're not actually on swivels. They're on ball joints, which we'll talk about. So let's just get into that articulation. The head can look down, can look up. You know, you can get all your tilt and turn around. It can basically do what you want. There's no movement at the neck. Shoulders are on ball joints, and that actually lets you butterfly forward and back a fair bit, which does help because there's no bicep swivel. They go up just a little bit and rotate. Your elbows hinge. There is no kind of swivel or anything here. These are all very thin joints, nothing at the wrist. And then the torso, I find this quite expressive. They put a cut right through here where there is a seam line, and it kind of lets you get some very emotive poses or make these things look like they're breaking apart or getting shot. I think that's quite cool. And then the hips are on ball joints, so they actually go out and in just a little bit and then swivel, and your legs are at a slight bend, and that's it. There's nothing at the knees or ankles. But I will say, while this figure doesn't stand great, the previous Hasbro Battle Droids, the movie ones, were really, really, really rubbery and thin. And I couldn't stand those things for shit as a kid. Whereas this guy, he will stand. Like, you do have to adjust it, but he will stay there. He stands much better than, like, the Super Battle Droids. So I definitely think that's a plus. So for comparisons, we have the 2008 kind of standard Phase 1 clone, and he is a decent bit taller than him, which is accurate. Battle Droids are surprisingly tall. I believe they're about 6'4", which is wild. But yeah, you can see even on the stand, this guy's a little bit wobbly. But yeah, look, overall, I mean, I think this is actually a pretty decent figure. I much prefer it to the Super Battle Droid. It's nothing special. It doesn't have great articulation or anything, but it really captures the look in the show. If you can, I would heavily recommend trying to find one of the versions with the wash. It would be easy to wash yourself, but you know, if you just want to collect them and keep them as they were like me, I would go for that one personally. But yeah, there's numerous repaints and revisions and all of this kind of thing. So yeah, I would give this thing, I don't even know how to rate this thing, you know. I mean, I think that if you're looking for it, I wouldn't recommend paying more than about a $5 for one, to be honest. Sealed, 10 to 15, because it is a cool figure to have on card. And these things they're so goofy, but they're such a nostalgic part of that show. So yeah, decent figure.